There are those who say that Palm Sunday is one of those rare occasions when a sermon is not necessary or even recommended. Better this day, they'd say, to let the liturgy speak for itself. I heed that wisdom after a fashion. And so I don't typically preach a sermon as such on Palm Sunday, but I will offer a brief observation. A couple of observations, really. First, and very briefly, we should know that the Jews did not kill Jesus. Crucifixion was a Roman innovation. Romans were skilled at killing opposition. But mainly what I observe this year as I consider once more this old, familiar tale of terror is the prevalence of fear. Everyone is driven by their fears, Jew and Roman alike. Fear pervades the scene in the garden. The whole betrayal is filled with a cloak and dagger atmosphere. The chief priests and police look for a way to put Jesus to death because of the threat they perceive him to be. But they move surreptitiously for fear of the people. So Judas comes in the dead of night and betrays Jesus to those afraid to act in the light of day. And the disciples, out of fear, do what is entirely natural to us, even 2,000 years later. They strike back. Threatened by a crowd armed with clubs and swords, one of those with Jesus grabs a sword he'd been carrying. A concealed weapon, it seems. One of the disciples has a sword, and with it he cuts off the ear of the slave of the high priest. Peter, blessed Peter, cannot help himself. He follows to see what will happen, all the while keeping what he presumes to be a safe distance. But it isn't safe. He's recognized as a follower. And out of fear, he denies knowing the rabbi he had once boldly proclaimed as the Messiah. And when the cock crows and Jesus looks over at Peter, Peter withdraws under another cloak of fear, the fear that he could, by this denial, prove himself to be so spineless. And he leaves. For all their might, even the Romans seem fearful. They do all they can to impose their version of peace on an occupied territory, but they fear the next outburst, and fear of that outburst makes them cruel, so it seems to me. For if not afraid, surely they could have found enough strength to show mercy to a condemned man. Instead, soldiers mock Jesus and beat him. They blindfold him and taunt him. And even Pilate, with the full weight of the Roman Empire behind him, seems desperate. He jumps at the chance to push the problem of Jesus off to Herod. And when Herod returns Jesus to him, Pilate wants to release Jesus, but in the face of an agitated crowd, whose fears, it seems, have been stoked by their acknowledged leaders, Pilate grows weak and relents. Fear pervades everything. Fear drives everyone, Roman and Jew, leaders and followers alike. Fear drives everyone, Everyone, that is, save Jesus. Jesus alone faces the fear and refuses to be driven by it. Even as he marches to his death, Jesus spares a word for women beating their breasts in sorrow. Even as he's nailed to a cross, Jesus forgives. Even hanging on that cross, Jesus offers comfort to the criminal beside him. Jesus alone remains true. That's what today and the whole of this Holy Week is about. This week that is the culmination of all the weeks and months and years of Jesus' life. Being born in human likeness, as St. Paul says in Philippians, being born in human likeness, Jesus walked the way that is common to us all, full of joys to be sure, and marked by pain and sorrow and fear. That is our focus in Holy Week. We are invited once more to follow the way of Jesus, the way of love, the way of the cross, and to learn what it tells us about how to live life, not without fear, but to live a life never driven by the fears common to us all. Let us sing the last two verses of Ride On in Majesty.